You know, for more than 50 years, the North Sea has been a real engine for the UK economy. But the work it takes to get that energy out of the ground, it's some of the most dangerous work on the planet. So, what happens when it all goes wrong? Today, we're going to dive deep into the incredibly complex, high-stakes world of personal injury claims for offshore workers.
And this quote, man, it just nails it. This isn't just another kind of job site. It's a totally different reality. You take all the usual dangers of heavy industry, and then you amplify them with complete isolation and the raw power of the open sea. It means that when an accident happens hundreds of kilometers from land, the consequences can just spiral out of control in a heartbeat.
Okay, so to really get a grip on the claims process, we have to start by understanding the environment itself. It is, quite literally, a world apart, with challenges you just will not find anywhere on shore. And what's so wild is how all these challenges create this crazy domino effect. Being hundreds of kilometers from the coast isn't just an inconvenience. It means medical help isn't minutes away, it's hours away. It means the only people who saw what happened are on a 2-week rotation and could be hundreds of miles away before anyone even starts asking questions. And that crucial piece of evidence, say a faulty bit of gear, well, that could be changed or even just gone. Which, of course, brings us to the million-dollar question. In a place with so many different companies and so many moving parts, who's actually responsible when a worker gets hurt? Well, the answer is almost never simple. So the whole industry works under this thing called the duty holder framework. Basically, it means you can't just point your finger at one boss. Offshore, safety is a shared, overlapping duty that falls on multiple companies, all working on the very same platform. And that's the real puzzle here, right? Untangling this web to figure out exactly who dropped the ball. So let's break down what this chain of responsibility actually looks like. At the very top, you've got the installation operator. They're the ones with the license and the ultimate say on safety. Then you have the drilling contractor, who manages the rig and the drilling. Under them, you've got all these specialized service contractors doing everything from crane operations to catering. And then finally, there's the worker's direct employer. An accident could be the fault of any one of these, or a total system failure that involves all four. Okay, so we've got all these layers of who's in charge, but what kind of accidents are we actually talking about here? Well, the dangers offshore are just as unique as the environment, and they really show you the massive industrial scale of this kind of work. First up, falls from height. I mean, it's a huge one. These platforms are incredibly complex, vertical mazes of steel. People are always working way up high, often over open water, on drilling floors, on deck structures, on scaffolding. And here's something you might not realize. These rigs aren't some kind of lawless Wild West. The UK's own Health and Safety at Work Act is specifically extended to cover the continental shelf. That means standard rules you'd find on a building site in London, like the work at height regulations, apply just as much, right there in the middle of the ocean. Then there's the ever-present danger of dropped objects. Think about it. A simple wrench falling from one deck to the one below can be absolutely lethal. That's why managing this risk with stuff like safety netting, exclusion zones, and tool tethers is such a basic, fundamental part of life offshore. But of course, the big one, the one that everyone fears and the entire safety system is built to prevent, that's fire and explosion. The potential for a massive catastrophe in such a small, contained space is just immense. 167. That's how many people died in the Piper Alpha disaster back in 1988. It's still the worst offshore accident ever, and it forced a complete revolution in safety. The modern safety case system, where companies have to constantly prove their platform is safe, that is the direct legacy of that terrible tragedy. So when the worst does happen, trying to get compensation is a whole other battle. It's basically a race against time in a super complex legal maze. Right away, as soon as an incident happens, it is an absolute sprint to gather evidence. Getting the operator's own internal investigation report is key, but you also have to track down those witnesses before they finish their rotation and scatter to the four winds. And grabbing essential records like work permits or maintenance logs is just as urgent before they get filed away or just disappear into the system. And then you hit this question that sounds simple but is anything but. Which country's laws even apply? See, for a fixed platform sitting on the UK continental shelf, it's pretty straightforward. Scottish courts, Scots law. But for a mobile rig, like a drill ship that can move anywhere, oh, the rules change completely. Suddenly things like what country's flag the ship is flying can mean the case ends up in a court thousands of miles away.
Now, when it comes to the compensation itself, the amounts are often way higher than what you'd see for a similar accident on land. Part of that is because offshore workers earn a lot with all their allowances and bonuses. But it also has to account for the incredible psychological trauma of surviving a major accident in a place so remote and so dangerous, totally cut off from help and family.
Look, this whole complex legal world exists for a reason, to protect the people doing this incredibly dangerous work. But it really makes you think, doesn't it? After more than half a century of the North Sea powering our economy, what is the real human price we pay for all that energy?